Hello, my name is Jeremy Hughes and I work as product manager here at Horsch. In today's video, we're going to show you an overview of our new single disc drill called Avatar SD. In this video, we're going to go over hooking the machine up to the tractor, going through calibrations, setting the machine in the field, and setting the machine up to get the most benefit out of it in your seeding operation. As we prepare to get the machine hooked up to your tractor, please familiarize yourself with several of the features that we have up on the front hitch. Whenever you hook this up to your tractor, you'll only need 2 hydraulic valves in order to operate the Avatar. One for the wing fold and wing folding up, and then also for your fan. One of the most important things, and we'll talk about this here a little bit later in the video, that you need to ensure is that you properly locate the case drain on the rear of your tractor and also hook up the case drain hose to that proper coupler. And we'll discuss that here a little bit in more detail. Your ISO connector and then also your light connector that you have here. The Avatar runs on a full ISOBus control system, so if you've got an existing virtual terminal in your tractor, that should work. If not, we offer several virtual terminals offered through Horsch. Hitch up front, safety chain, we'll make the installations here, and then we'll get started on unfolding and working with the Avatar, getting things set up for your successful season. Once you've familiarized yourself with the hydraulic connectors and also the ISO connector that's on the front of the Avatar that hooks up to your tractor, please ensure that you have those connected properly. Be sure that you have your safety chain in place for safe transport. Make sure that your hitch and pins are all attached properly, and then also make sure that you have your hydraulic remotes properly connected, and most important of all, as we talked about earlier, ensure that you have the case drain hose properly installed in the case drain outlet that's on the rear of your tractor. Once we have all this complete, once you have your screen set up on your ISO, once you have the monitor set so your implement shows up, now we're ready to start unfolding the machine. We will walk you through this, very simple, easy steps to unfold your Avatar. Once you have your Avatar unfolded, please ensure that once you get out of the tractor and start doing the overview of your machine, that you lift up the safety ladder on the catwalk platform, which gives you access to the top of your tanks. You remembered me talking about earlier about the importance of the case drain and making sure that you hook it up to the right outlet on the rear of your tractor. The case drain is there to protect the system from any spikes or any surges in pressures that you may have when operating orbital motors like on your fan. It's very important that you have the case drain properly installed in the right outlet on the back of your tractor to prevent seal damage within the motors that we use on our hydraulically driven fans. One of the first things you want to do once you get the machine into the yard and get it unfolded is to run the pneumatic system on the unit. Turn on the fans, operate the fan RPM up and down using the control valve that's on your SEV remotes in your tractor, and then also do a thorough overview across the machine through the air system to ensure that you have no air leaks, to make sure hoses are tight, and to make sure that lids and all are tight as well. We'll walk through some of the key areas here shortly and show you some areas to check once you start up your fan. With your fan running, come below each one of the meters and inspect the bottom access cover. This cover we'll show you here a little bit later. You'll need to open up to do calibration, but while you're seeding in the field, you want to make sure that this cover is tight. If for some odd reason you get excessive air leaking out around the cover, it's simply adjusted by turning or tightening this J-hook in order to make the door close tighter. The doors that are on your meter housing, and to make sure that you don't have any excessive air leaks due to a loose bolt that holds on the motor or loose bolts that hold on the actual access covers. Make sure that below the bottom of the tank that you don't have any air leaks. Check hoses going between the seed channels, hoses going up, just to ensure that you have proper airflow and no leaks. Again, with the fan running, once you've checked over the meters and the access covers underneath the bottom of the tanks, you want to come out for a moment and inspect the tower system that's on both the right and left hand side of the toolbar on your Avatar. Make sure that the wing nuts up top, on top of the manifold heads, are good and tight, that you have no air leaks coming out the top of the manifold head, and then also inspect the hoses going down to the openers, walking behind the machine to make sure that you have airflow coming out of each and every opener on the rear end of the machine. One of the things that you'll quickly realize about the Avatar when you're setting up the unit in the field It's a very, very simple unit to get going and to get seating with once you have it to your farm. Whenever you start doing setup on the Avatar in your farmyard, the only tools that you'll really need to get going will be a 13mm wrench, a flathead screwdriver, and a pair of channel locks. Simple, sweet, easy to get in the field. One of the most important areas that you want to check prior to going to the field doing your walk-around inspection of the air system is the tank lids. The Avatar features 2 individual hoppers, so you'll need to check both tank lids. If you remember earlier, I talked about having a 13mm wrench. The 13mm wrench is used to adjust the 4 points that are on the tank lid. If you get into the field and you have a loose tank lid, you'll have a very difficult time maintaining your calibration and accurate application rate due to the balance of air in the system and also the balance of air in the tank. You want to ensure that there's no leaks around the outer edges of the tank lid. If you really want to get close and adhere it, you can do that. You can also use talc powder, or a lot of people use soapy water to go around to see if there's any tank lid leaks. If you do have a lid leak, it's very simple to adjust. Take your 13mm wrench, loosen up the bolts on each corner where the leak would be at, and then simply tighten down here in order to eliminate the leaks. Once you make the adjustments, please keep the fan running to make sure that you've eliminated that leak. Another step in preparing your Avatar for field operation is ensuring the levelness of the toolbar prior to going to the field. When you have the machine setting in the yard, please lower it down into the working position and put a square up against it to see how level the machine is. If your unit is setting where the toolbar is tipped forward, you'll want to lower the front hitch in order to tilt the machine back. Be sure to eyeball that once in the yard, and then also once you get into the field, be sure to do that measurement again. Another adjustment that you'll make whenever leveling your toolbar is adjusting the length of the adjustable bar for the gauge wheels. Whenever you have the machine down, you want to make sure that you have just a light amount of pressure out here on the gauge wheels. Use these stops in the sliding mechanism here to be able to get the correct length of this rod and to be able to keep your toolbar level as you're seating in the field. One of the convenient design features of the Avatar SD is the ability to do all of your adjustments, maintenance, and also inspection of your openers from a standing position. Unlike many air seeders today, especially single disc drills that require you to stoop over to get down to crawl underneath frameworks in order to do service on the openers, service on the openers on the Avatar is very simple, easy, and done from a very comfortable position. Now, in this portion of the video, we want to give you a very quick overview of the opener, adjustments, and also maintenance as you're going through the field. One of the beautiful things about this opener system is there's no greasers in any of the system. So when it comes to pivot points, to springs, to any wear points, from linkages, there are none. So from a service standpoint, you're basically looking at service on your boot, and then also back on your gauge wheel and your press wheel areas. Depth control is done by the simple spring lever that we use to lift up simply, to readjust, and to set into a different notch. No need for tools or anything like that. A very simple setup using a spring clip back here in the back. You look at the boot here on the bottom and you'll see a series of holes and also a spring. Use this spring in order to adjust the tension of the boot against the blade. The holes here that you see, 3 on the left, 3 on the right, set the depth of the boot in correlation with the blade. As you use your Avatar in the field and the blade wears, always make sure that the bottom of the boot sets above the bottom edge of the blade. If as you go through the field, as the blade wears, that the boot gets a little bit below the bottom tip of the blade, simply move the boot to the next hole up and wait for the wear pattern to follow. A standard feature that we have on each opener on every Avatar that we build is a seed lock wheel that we use for embedding the seed in the bottom of the furrow. This promotes very rapid and uniform germination, which is one of the keys to maximum yield potential. Whenever you get your Avatar, you want to be sure to release that to let that wheel fall down to the bottom of the furrow in order to firm the seed. The spring action helps it follow contours very well, and if you get into muddy conditions, you can lift the firming wheel up and lock it into the upward position. Setting your firming wheel pressure on the back of the Avatar is very simple. A series of 3 notches here that we use a coil spring in order to hold tension on the firming wheel can be easily adjusted depending upon condition. Depending on the soil types and the soil conditions, residue levels that you're going through, you may need to adjust the angle of engagement of the press wheel in order to properly close the furrow. We'll now show you the timing marks on there on the back that'll show you how to adjust each one correctly and also the same across the entire machine. Here you can see the timing marks on both the press wheel shaft and also the back of the arm. 2 slots here for putting in a simple crescent wrench in order to loosen this bolt to turn this cam action to adjust the pitch and angle of engagement of the press wheel. One of the unique features that I want to point out on the Avatar opener is the unique rubber torsion system that we use for mounting the opener to the rock shaft that we have here on the back. This eliminates the need for any greasers, pivot points, pins, or bushings that can create a lot of wear and compromise seat depth control as you go across the field. As we've pointed out, the openers are very easily adjusted, very easily maintained, and provide a lot of years and a lot of service in your seating operation. As we prepare the Avatar for your seating operation, the next thing we want to do prior to calibrating the machine is ensuring that we have the correct meter rollers. Please consult your Horsch dealer for charts and user tools that we have in order to be able to take your rates of application that you desire, also the widths of the machine, and calculate the rollers that are right for your application. To remove the rollers from the Avatar, you have 2 wing screws on the outer cover that you will remove. Once you loosen and remove these wing screws, the meter roller easily removes from the meter housing. Whenever removing and installing meters, there's a simple process, yet a very important process that we must adhere to in order to ensure that our meters turn properly and that we also are able to maintain proper application rates. For the sake of demonstration, I have a meter here housing just like I have on the bottom of the cart. What I want to show you is a task called centering the meter. And we'll show you this looking at the meter actually from the bottom. If you want to be able to look at this on the machine, simply undo the doors that we had showed you here earlier for accessing the metering system for calibration, and look up from the bottom and assess how the meter is aligned. When centering the meter, you want the meter properly installed in the bearing housing using this R-clip here. Slide the meter into the housing, aligning it with the hex coupler that's on the end of your motor, and install the meter as seen. Now if you come in closer, you can see that this meter has a gap right here on the edge. Whenever you're trying to maintain proper application rate and also having smooth drive of your electric drive meters, you want to ensure that this gap is not seen. You want to make sure that the ends of the meter roller are properly flush with the outsides of the housing. Now we'll show you how to remove the meter, make the adjustment, reinstall, and confirm your adjustment. Once you have the meter removed, pull out the R-clip from the bearing housing and remove the bearing housing. What you'll find on the ends of the meter are these Circlips that hold the meter in place on the hex shaft. Using the flathead screwdriver that I showed you earlier, remove these R-clips, and then we will move spacers in order to move the center of the meter roller back and forth in order to achieve proper centering within the meter housing. To remove the Circlip, stick the end of the flathead screwdriver in, popping out the clip through these little flat areas here. You'll have a series of shims that you'll remove before removing the meter roller. Remove these shims and lay them to the side. It is very important to know and to note that whenever I remove these shims, I want to keep the exact same amount of shims as a total with the roller. So if I pull out shims on this end, which I need to do in order to center the roller, I will install them on the other end of the roller. We'll remove the roller from the hex shaft. We will install the assumed amount of shims in order to move the roller over. We will reinstall the shaft into the meter roller, reinstalling the shims, and then using the channel lock pliers, we will reinstall the Circlip. Like so. Now we take the meter housing again, putting it on the hex shaft installing the R-clip and then reinstalling the meter to check for centering in the meter housing. As you can see, this end of the meter and this end of the meter, if you feel here and look, there is no gap like what was seen before. The end of the meter is flush with the meter housing. This will ensure very easy operation of the meter, very easy rotations with the electric motor, and also achieving proper application rates. Above the Avatar meter housing, you'll see this golden colored plate and a cover that's attached by 2 wing screws. If you have product in the tank and have calibrated and for some odd reason have the wrong meter roller installed, simply go to your toolbox, pull out this slide gate, and install on top of the meter housing. With this gate installed, you'll be able to pull the meter out and replace it with minimal spillage of product that you have inside the tank. Now that we have the proper meter selected, as we showed earlier, and that we have it confirmed to be centered, we slide the meter into the housing, lining it with the hex shaft on the end of the motor and reinstalling the stainless steel screws. Once we get the machine to the field, now we want to prepare for unfolding. In your monitor, you'll see here in the screens this icon with wings and arrows. Press that and you'll come up to the folding menu. Here you have the choice whether you want to unfold or fold the unit. We're in the field, now we want to unfold. So we press this top button. In order to engage the sequence, you'll see the first illuminated button here. Press that and actuate your cylinders on the tractor using the tractor SCV. Once you unfold the unit and it's folded back, then you want to press this button here in order to lower down the rest of the toolbar to the working position. We'll have a warning indication that'll pop up to tell us to lower down the railing on our catwalk prior to folding the machine to prevent it from being damaged from the folding wings. Once we have accomplished that, we come back in and press OK and start the folding process. Again, starting with the first button here in order to engage the unit to start folding up, and once we get the unit up, the next icon will light up that we'll press in order to set the toolbar into the saddles using the SCV remote in our tractor. Some of the main features that you'll need to familiarize yourself with prior to operating the Avatar in the field is on the main home screen that you'll see on your ISO virtual terminal. As you look across the screen, you'll see a variety of icons. Please consult your owner's manual for proper identification and functions of these icons. We'll go through the main ones here shortly and give you a quick overview of the icons, the functions, and how they'll help you adjust and dial in your machine for perfect performance. As you look on the screen here, you'll see one button with the toolbar with an up and down arrow on it that's illuminated green. One thing that you want to make sure of whenever you're in the field is that this button is always illuminated green. This is the main activation switch for your toolbar. If for some odd reason this button is not illuminated, your toolbar will not lift or lower. The button beside of it that has a target and a meter on it is where we go into to do our calibrations. We'll go through this step individually and show you how to properly calibrate the machine and show you the accuracy that it has in your seating operation. Below that, you'll see a plus and a minus on the coulter, which indicates down pressure that you have on your row units. If you see here, I'm lowering the down pressure and raising the down pressure, which we'll show you on an outer gauge here in a moment. The amp and rotation gives you feedback for diagnostics on your motors on your meters. Both motor 1 and motor 2 giving RPMs and total amperage that it's taking to run your meters. Please note, these motors have a lockout at 15 total amps. If I have the meter not centered within the meter housing or have some other type of obstructions that enter into the meter creating heavy drag on the meter itself, once that motor reaches 15 amps, it will kick off, thus creating a need to restart the system and clear the obstruction that's within the meter housing. As we showed earlier, this button here is for your fold unfold. The button that you see here that's now grayed out, that has the toolbar with the wavy line underneath the bottom, is what we call our mud hole button. If you're in a situation where you're going across the field and all of a sudden you get into a muddy area or a very soft soil area, press this button in order to release all of the down pressure on the openers, to release your active weight transfer on the machine, and to be able to raise the toolbar just a little bit without cutting off the work switch in order to keep seating and work through such a wet hole or also a soft spot that you will have in the field. Using your page over functions here at the bottom, we'll page over and go into the wrench menu that you see here. The wrench menu gives you a variety of steps, including machine data, which is delta step that we use for both the metering and then also for your down pressure. Simulation speed, if I'm wanting to do diagnostics in the yard, I can enter in test speeds and do simulations in shops or in the yards. And then for advanced diagnostics and advanced setup, I press and hold the two gear buttons here at the bottom for approximately 4 seconds and go into these screens. These screens are further explained in your owner's manual and are usually set up from the factory. When we go into the target screen for calibration, you will also see here rated value. This is where you enter in the value of the application rate that you want to apply. Say in this application I want to do 120 pounds of product, I simply enter in 120 pounds. The machine is currently set up in what we call a 50-50 split application, meaning that we will take this 120 pounds and meter it evenly, split 50-50 or 60 pounds out of each bin. Consult your owner's manual for the different configurations on how we can set up bins to meter out 50-50 or to meter out individually, depending on the applications that you're wanting to accomplish. See the main work switch button that you see here. If the work switch is off, you'll see the stop sign illuminated across the bottom of the screen. If the work switch is on, you'll see the actual applied rate, as you see here for both bins 1 and 2, applying half rate at the same time, and you will see this illuminated. One thing I do want to show you that's a very interesting feature on the monitor is the residual quantities. In this example, since bin 1 and 2 are together, if you're doing a split application, you would do bins 1 and 2 separately. You can enter in the amount of pounds of product that you have in each tank. Say we put in 2,500 pounds of total product between the tanks. We enter this in, and now as we do the application across the field, it lets us know that at 120 pounds per acre, at 2,500 pounds of product, I have 20.8 acres, and we'll start counting this down and give me alarms as I go through the field. This particular machine is equipped with what we call a half-width function. Half-width is a sectional control function that whenever we're getting into an overlap situation, we can manually shut off half of the drill. If you notice here on this button we press, you can see half-width being activated, thus shutting off the right-hand side of the drill. Reactivate that button and we go back to full-width activation. To cut off the left-hand side, we press this button, cutting off the left-hand side of the drill and only distributing product on the right-hand side, of course at half of the drill. Once we get back into full-width application, we press this button again to reactivate the entire machine for seating in the field. If you look out the rear of your tractor, you'll notice two gauges that are positioned above the fan. The gauge, as you're looking at them to the left, will indicate your fan hydraulic pressure in both PSI and bar. This represents the amount of hydraulic pressure that you have going to run your hydraulic fan motor. The gauge, as you're looking at the two on the right, indicates the amount of hydraulic pressure that you're using for the down pressure on your openers on your toolbar. As we'll show you here shortly, we will adjust these openers and adjust the down pressure from inside the cab. And as you look back, you will see this gauge change as we make these changes on the monitor on the go. In this portion of the video, I want to show you how to adjust the down pressure from the cab on your row units on the back of your toolbar. As we've showed you earlier in the video, there's a pressure gauge that if you turn around the tractor and look above the fan, as you're looking at the gauges on the right hand side, that gives you the hydraulic pressure that's being applied to the cylinders that rotate the rock shaft that engage your openers on the back end of the toolbar. We showed in the monitor how we can raise that down pressure simply from the monitor in a percentage value. Now we'll start the tractor up and we'll show you how to do this from inside the cab, and we'll also show you the reactions on the outside of the machine. As you saw earlier, as the gauge was fluctuating on the machine, I was actually adjusting the down pressure from inside the cab. As you can see from this video, the Avatar SD40 is a very simple machine to set up. Whether we're talking about setups on the openers, maintenance, operation, calibration, or even full operation of the machine, you'll find that once you get your Avatar in the field, the seating precision, the versatility, and also the simplistic operation will make it the best single disc air seeder that you've ever owned. And now, before we fold up the machine, be sure to remember to drop down your rating.